Travel and Things, in association with Rugged Wear, Real People, Real Clothing, Real Solutions, presents In Conversation With. I am your host, David Batsoffen, and today my guest is none other than Lee Gutteridge. Lee, how are you doing?
Very good. Thank you, David. How are you?
Very well, thanks. You made it back from the jungles of, where were you? Laos.
Yeah. I was in Laos, in the jungles, and I only just made it back.
So let's chat a bit, because people might know you for other things. They may know you for all of these books, tracks and signs of invertebrates, of birds, of mammals, all produced by, what is it, Jacana?
Jacana Media, yeah.
All of them are Jacana Media books. These are available. The only one, folks, that you are not going to find, because it's sold out, is Lee's epic work, Rocks of Southern Africa, their tracks and signs, which sold out within minutes of it being published. One review, that's all it took, and it was gone off the shelves.
Yeah, fun one. And actually, just a matter of interest, the Invertebrate Tracks and Signs book is out of stock, but it's back on the shelves from the 17th of December. Great. So yeah, so that's been redone, revamped. Yeah, a few new things in there. So
you found a few new little chokkies and nunekis that you could add to the book.
Yeah, there's a few changes.
Good stuff. Lee, you've just come back, as you said, from Laos. What was the brief going there? I mean, what takes a South African track and sign expert like yourself to a far-flung Asian jungle?
So, good question. So, yeah, I'll give a little bit of a summary of it. But basically, what happened was my partner, Dr. Kirsty Lawrence, was contacted by the Saola Foundation, which is an organization trying to search for and protect the rarest large mammal on Earth. The Saola is an antelope. And this creature, basically what they want to do is they want to find a way to firstly locate and see if there are any of them. There might be 50 or 100 left in the wild in the world, and there are none in captivity. And Kirsty, she conscripted me to basically be the spearhead of the project in Laos, and I worked in conjunction with the Lao government and various officials there to assist with the selection and preparation of trackers to be able to go and find this animal in the Annamite Mountains on the border with Vietnam. And it's terrain like I've never seen. And there's a couple of other trackers who I've fortunately had an opportunity to brief that will be going in now after me to go work with the Lao teams. And the idea is we want to really encourage and grow the Lao tracking skills. Tracking is not a big thing in places like Laos. So we want to help the people there to be the best they can to find this incredibly rare animal. So that's, I guess, kind of in a nutshell.
Do they know that the animal is still alive? Are there any, pardon me, if you say there's nothing in a zoo, I know you guys were unsuccessful in actually finding the animal, although you found tracks. You didn't find dung, which is what you were looking for DNA. So how do you know, how do they know that there are still animals around?
So the last physical photographs of this animal were from camera traps, I believe in 2013. So what's that, 9 years ago?
Yeah.
And there's an intensive poaching issue in eastern Laos. So the concern is that many of these animals are going to be poached out and killed by wire snares. But there are still sporadic reports from the villages and from communities in the Annamite Mountains. And these are incredibly rural places, like 3 days in four-wheel drive vehicles, and then hiking through the mountains for a couple of days to get to these locations. It's really quite a remote place. And they are basically saying to us that these animals are still there. And as I mentioned to you in our earlier discussion, that you're showing a copy right now of one of the tracks we found in the mountains. We were unable to find this animal, of course, but I mean, the terrain just doesn't allow you to creep up on anything. So we're pretty convinced that there must be some of them left in those mountains. And we're about to begin a 2-year intensive search using Lao trackers, using dung detection dogs, and of course, with a massive amount of support crew. So yeah, we're pretty convinced they're there. I mean, that track to me was enough to let me know that something's going on that looks really Saola-like. So yeah, it was really exciting, but pretty sad that we couldn't find any scat to get genetic confirmation. But that's fine. I mean, my job was really to train the trackers, and to have this glimmer of hope this early in the project, I think is fantastic.
All right, talking about glimmer of hope, I don't know if this is a glimmer of hope or not, but I think this says it all. I love this. Spotted a leech on my throat, got it before it bit me. Nope, it bit me right in the throat. How did it get through your beard, Lee?
Man, listen, those things, they have little ropes and little blue climbing helmets, and they can go anywhere. It's unbelievable. Sometimes I would lift my shirt and I'd have like 4 or 5 of them having a dinner party on my stomach. It was just unbelievable. The terrain and the conditions were just out of this world, David.
Is it nothing like we have here in Southern Africa, or Africa for that?
I've never experienced anything like this in Southern Africa. I've been up into the jungle in Bwindi, in Uganda, looking for gorillas, and I think there are some similarities with the terrain. You're moving sort of waist deep in climbing bamboo and shrubs and forbs that wrap around your legs. And there's one particular favorite of mine. It's a very thin creeper, and you don't see them in the dark. And it hangs down like little tendrils from above you, and has recurved spines. And it rests beautifully gently on your neck. And then when you take the next step, you feel like you've just been caught by a fishing hook in the throat. Oh, man, it's just such rugged terrain. And like the slopes, you're going up 45 degrees, and then you're going down 45 degrees. And then you're climbing around a waterfall that you just can't get down the waterfall, and hanging on to twigs that are sort of thumb thickness. This is what you've got to hold you in place. And I'm a bit bigger than the Lao guys. I mean, they're on average about 50 or 60 kilograms, and I'm clocking in nearly double that. So I was pretty nervous about some of those places. I was just so happy to come back to Africa, where the thorns are white and you can see them, you know. It's crazy. Shit.
Did you do no research before you left, though, Lee? Did you not figure, when Kersey said to you, listen, Lee, I want you to go to the jungles of Laos, and this is... If I was you, I'd do some research before I left.
I did some research, and I looked at pictures, and I thought, how bad can it be? Anyway, no, there's just not really a lot. There's no book you can pick up that says this is what the jungle's like. There's one book called The Last Unicorn, which was written by a gentleman by the name of DeBase. And it's about his journey with Bill Robichaud, who is I think he's the chairperson of the Saola Foundation, about one of their trips into this jungle to go search for this animal. And his descriptions are quite amazing. But, you know, you read something like that, David, and you go, I wonder if it can be like that. You know, it can't be that bad. Anyway, he really understated the experience. It was very tough. It was very tough. I'm still physically recovering from some of my mishaps. So yeah, it's quite a thing.
Were there lots of stumbles and falls beside the leeches sort of eating off you on a daily basis?
Yeah. So on my way in, I managed to break my shoes. So
I'm sorry, Lee, I'm going to stop. How do you break a shoe?
Try walking up a river for 9 hours. You know.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
In the water. Sort of between knee and waist deep in a river on rocks for, I think we were probably in that river for 7 hours. Maybe I exaggerate, but it felt like 11. Yeah. And I broke my shoes. And so all I had left in terms of shoes to protect my feet was a pair of running trainers, tackies, you know. And unfortunately, I had to wear those now for the next 2.5 weeks, and nothing gets dry. It's raining or it's humid, or, you know, in the daytime it hits 30, 32 degrees with very high humidity. And then at nighttime it was like 10 degrees Celsius and I was freezing in my hammock. You know, I was really cold in my hammock. So the shoes never dry. And unfortunately, I managed to develop something which is known as trench foot. I'm sure you
I've
know
heard
of
of
it, but
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, I know all about it. I've actually, yeah, you don't even want to see the mess
No,
that
I
my
don't
feet
want
are
to
in
see.
at the
But
moment.
thank you for the
No.
offer.
Yeah, no, you don't want to see that.
I see a new book for 2023, Trench Foot and how to overcome it.
Maybe you could sell that out in a day as well, David.
I can
Yeah,
see the images now.
Half of my conversation with the other trackers that I was chatting to last night. We convened a little Zoom meeting with Preston Taylor and Matt Nelson, who are in the United States, also very, very skilled cyber tracker evaluators and track and sign and trailing guides, trackers, you know. When I was talking to them, I think the first hour of the conversation was trench foot and how to avoid it. I devised so many methods to keep safe, you know. But anyway, it was a bit late for me, but at least I could share my experience with these two fantastic trackers that are going in. And then hopefully Kirsty and I will go in again a little bit later next year. So we're hoping to get out there again.
So you want to prove to Kirsty that it actually take the doctor with you this time to say, I wasn't lying. I didn't make any of this up. If I was you, I'd bring extra boots, like half a dozen pairs. It's the only time that you're allowed to take more than one pair of boots on a trip. And then off you go. I'll see you in 2.5 weeks' time.
Exactly. No, it was an amazing experience though. Look, I speak of the leeches and the foot rot and all that fun stuff, but it was an amazing experience. I found the Lao people to be incredibly friendly and supportive, and you know, they were just so thankful that someone was prepared to immerse themselves into this environment with them for a project that it seemed to mean a lot to these people, you know, to the guys. I think I've made some really good friends.
Oh, that's wonderful.
It's really fantastic.
Did they know who you were, Lee? You know, we know you here in South Africa, and I think you as well known in America. But what would you call the Lao people? Laotians? Did they know?
I think they just refer to them as Lao. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Did they know who you were and what your qualifications were, so that you weren't just some arbitrary European person coming to tell them what to do?
No, I had to explain a few times that I found that the Lao people love to have meetings. And in every meeting you introduce yourself and you introduce what you do. And eventually I kind of got it summarized down to about 4 sentences because there were quite a lot of meetings. But every time you introduce yourself and, you know, and you spend time with them, and I was doing some things that a lot of them had never seen before. So for example, we had access to a dead Saola in the freezers of the national parks in Vientiane, in the capital. And we made track casts of the hooves so that we actually physically had something to take into the field, so we knew what the Saola track looked like. Yeah. I mean, that's if you look at that picture that you put up, there's sort of a round white disc, and that is a kind of self-hardening clay, which we did copies of the track. So that's how we got a track to use as an example to be able to determine what we were following, and little things like that. The Lao trackers and the support teams and the logistics guys, they were quite fascinated, you know, and they thought, okay, well, something's going on here that we haven't seen before. So that helped to build a little bit of credibility. But no, they had no idea who I was or even what I was going to be trying to do with them. But it was really, you know, the guys were just so super excited. It's not a country where many Western visitors get to go for official purposes. And the jungles I went to, I mean, when we were on our way in, we stayed in the chiefs' houses. The chiefs wanted us to come and stay in their homes. These little stilt houses with the kitchen like central to the house. And I mean, they were so excited to have Westerners come to their home, and it was like quite a prestigious thing because, you know, so I just think the general attitude was, this guy's come from around the world, from somewhere called Africa, and and he's here to help us find this animal. So they were just super about it. I don't think they really had any sense of what I'm supposed to be able to do. And I'll tell you what, I couldn't do it when I was there because it was a learning curve of note. It was like climbing a wall, let alone a learning curve. But yeah, it was just, I just jumped in, did my best.
I'm glad that you've broken ground there, and that going forward, or at least for the next 2 years, you will have contact with them, and that at the end of the day, you will find this animal, and you'll be able to, to save the species. Because finding one is not really the be all and end all. You've got to make sure that there's breeding herd if there is such a thing. Because even capturing one, you can't take one to a zoo. What's it going to do? Die all alone?
Yes. So there's a bit of a strategy there, and I'm not sure if this is how it will unfold, because to be quite honest, we only know what is told to us by the extremely rural villages about this animal. There's very little knowledge of what these animals would ever do in the wild, where they would be, and a lot of the things that we've been told have actually been shown to not be accurate. Okay. But one of the things that is understood is that when dogs are present, okay, so the natural enemy of the Saola is a wild dog which lives in Asia called the dhole. And dholes are like a red version of the African Cape hunting dog or wild dog. There's a wild dog right there.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a red version of that. And the Saola's response to them, according to many reports from villagers and from people who live in the environment where this animal is that it will run into deep water. It turns around because there's rivers everywhere and streams everywhere, absolutely everywhere. And they reverse their backside into some rocks or into an embankment, and they put their heads down and they fight with their super sharp spindle-like horns. So this behavior, with us using tracker dogs and bay dogs, might be a way to corner and capture one of these animals. We're not sure yet, but it might be. There's a possibility. Okay. And if we can get a male and a female, which is obviously what you need for a breeding project, I think one of those ingredients is missing, you have a problem. If they can get a male and a female, I think they will keep them in their natural environment in maybe an enclosed area or a protected area. Okay. And they're hoping to just build a tiny breeding nucleus to try and protect this animal. I think it's something along those lines, but this whole thing is so dynamic, David. As every ingredient is added to the pot, they're learning new things. And, it's an animal that is just so little known. It was only discovered by Western science in 1992. Wow. So prior to that, it wasn't even in a mammal book, so quite amazing.
Do we have anything like that here in South Africa? Are there any mammals in South Africa that are that scarce?
Sure. Well, I guess I think one of our most critically endangered animals would be the rivery rabbit, I guess. Yeah. And I think in terms of hartebeest in South Africa, the Liechtenstein's hartebeest is pretty rare, but I don't think anything quite as critically endangered as this. That's why they are touting this as probably the rarest large mammal on Earth.
Wow, that's quite something. And let's hope that you guys are involved in it and it comes out with a happy ending, so to speak. But now let's bring you back to South Africa. What's the program for you and for Kirsty in 2023 with your tracking school? Because we know you here as one of the iconic trackers in South Africa. Even my wife, who's never been on a proper tracking walk, went on a walk with you, and who still raves about that walk. She's never known rocks so intimately, and she's never found them so enjoyable as that walk that we had with you and Kirsty.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, David, I'll be running a field guide program in January.
Right.
January, February, and into March. And then thereafter, Kirsty and I have some tracking commitments in the United States. Kirsty's company, Original Wisdom, runs all kinds of educational programs in the US, and I luckily just get to tag along and be a participant. And of course, I help where I can, but I don't work over there.
Right.
And then, yeah, during the course of this year, we have multiple study abroad programs. We have what we call tracking intensive programs, where people come from around the world. We've got groups from Holland, Germany, Scotland, the United States coming in this year, and we just focus for, I think one of them is for 24 days, and we just focus on tracks and signs for that whole time period and following animals and following trails. So yeah, so it's a busy year, and we're really excited about it. Yeah.
Why would, and I'm not deriding your programs at all, please understand that, but why would somebody from Europe come to track animals in Africa? Because whatever they find here, they're not going to be wandering down a street in Germany and go, oh, look, it's a leopard track. I've never seen one in Germany before, you know, but I know it's a leopard because Lee and Kersey pointed it out to me.
No, okay, so the answer to that's quite simple. Africa is the birthplace of tracking. You know, this is where I think people were tracking here many thousands of years ago just to find food and survive. And of course, we have all this incredible, iconic megafauna. I mean, the opportunity for a tracker from Britain. I mean, I think probably the largest predators there are things like badgers, foxes, and so forth. Yeah. So no, but not to diss that. I mean,
not at
that's
all.
Still fantastic to learn about.
Listen, we don't have badgers here, or foxes for that matter.
Well, we've got jackals and honey badgers.
Yeah, but it's not quite
and I don't want to
same.
track one of those. I don't want to track one of those. Yeah. So people just love to come out and experience tracking here in Africa, and Kirst and I, of course, love to immerse people in that. But also, I think another side of that is all of these skills are incredibly transferable. So for me to arrive in a place like Laos and to immediately recognize civet, okay, I didn't know which one of the 5 species of civet. It took some time to start figuring that out. Or immediately to recognize hog badger, or to immediately recognize the Eurasian wild boar. You know, those kind of things are very transferable. So the skills we teach here can be transferred to a certain degree. Of course, not species by species, but there's a lot of transferable skills. And also, just what an adventure, you know, if you're used to being in the snowy wilds of northern Wisconsin, and now you suddenly find yourself in Africa tracking a herd of elephants or a lioness or whatever it might be, it's just super exciting for people to do, you know.
In 46-degree heat in summer.
Yeah, no, we'll pack that out for them. We save some of the hot days for them.
Great stuff. Lee, it's always great to talk to you. The books, as we said earlier, are available. They're all published by Jacana Media. If you can't find them, look, it's as simple as that. There is when is the Feather book coming out?
Oh, Feathers is going to be a while, David. We've been busy with for over 5 years.
Okay.
And I think Kirsty and I are probably kind of optimistic we might get it done in the next 5. So that's going to be a while. Yeah. All right. That'll be a long time. But we do have a book coming out on scats and droppings. We've realized how diverse scats and droppings are, so we've tried to document some of that. And we have another book coming out on how to trail wild animals in the wild. So, so that's another one we're busy with. Yeah, and there's several other projects. But these will all be with Jacana, all being well. And several other projects. But all
right, we look forward to chatting. I look forward to chatting to you about those in the months in 2023. If people who are watching this go, oh, we'd like to get involved in that, or we'd like to find out more, how do they find out about your courses? I'm assuming there's a website they can go to.
Sure. Yeah, they can go to my website. My company is Nature Guide Training. So it would be www.natureguidetraining.com. That's one way of doing it. We also have a Facebook page, which is called Nature Guide Training. So we kept it simple. And also, you're welcome to share my email address. I can put that on your send it through to you, David, if you'd like to put that on this.
I will do when I write the blurb for this particular video. We'll add all those connectivity details there, and hopefully people will like what they've seen. Maybe want to accompany you to the jungle and find out more about trench foot and leeches, but that's for them to talk to you directly about. It's not for today's conversation. Lee, as always, it's so great to talk to you. I look forward to seeing you and Kersey in the new year, and to go back into the field with you guys once more. We won't speak before Christmas, that's for sure. So let me wish you both a very Merry Christmas, a happy, peaceful, and safe New Year. And whatever you're going to do, do it with kindness, do it with love, and do it with passion.
Thanks so much, David, and the same to you and Caro. I hope you guys have a wonderful time together during this holiday season, and be safe.
Thanks so much. My guest today on In Conversation With has been Lee Gutteridge. Remember, the books are available. natureguidetraining.co.za, right?
.com.
.com. I should have written it down. Natureguidetraining.com is where you can find out more about Lee and his offerings. And if you've never been on a walk in the wild, I suggest you do it with Lee. Lee, once again, thanks very much for joining me. This has been In Conversation With. I'm David Batsoff.